Welcome, Robert, to Metalladium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Adept, this new album, Blood Covenant, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking, how are you doing today, and how is the band during the last couple of years? Because your previous album was released 9 years ago.
Yeah, today I'm super fine. I've been super fine the last 9 years as well, but it hasn't been that much music that I'm used to. Um, yeah, it's been a while. It's We're gonna release the album in 2 days. It's kind of nervous to be putting out music again after such a long time. But I felt, the passion came back. Um, the passion to create music together with your best friends is back. So yeah, it feels good.
Okay, okay. And well, in this situation of the 9 years, so why the band delayed 9 years to release a new album? Because usually we have 9 years more that capable to proceed more albums, what, one or two, but 9 years.
Yeah, we released Sleepless in 2016, and we toured kind of heavily on that album. Two of the band members quit the band after we released Sleepless, which also made it a little bit difficult to keep the passion. But we continued playing up until December 2019. That was the last show. And then, the pandemic came, COVID-19 came early 2020. And I think that was we never really came back from that. A lot of other bands, they started recording new albums. They released like online shows, sold tickets for YouTube concerts, very very business minded, and so. But I think it was like the passion ran out a little bit. We didn't have the same approach to music, so I think that we needed a break. But the break became a little longer than we anticipated. So I think it was up until like 3 years after the pandemic that we're into it, like 2023, that we started like rehearsing again. So yeah.
Okay, okay. So in this situation, the band just the band started their career in 2020 2004. Now,
Mhm.
21 years later, we have these fifth albums in your career. So how many things changed since you started the band in 2004, and now we have this fifth album, Blood Covenant?
Yeah. Well, and what was the question? How?
How many things changed since your perspective, since you started the band in
Mm.
2004 to now this last
Yeah.
album?
There's a lot of things has happened in the music industry, of course. When we started, we put out records. Now records isn't that important. It's more like plays on Spotify or traffic towards YouTube. Um, Also, the release campaign is completely different now than it was like 21 years ago. I think a lot of bands, they release 5, 6 singles for every album. They put out a lot of music video, and we were kind of used to releasing one single and then you have the entire album. But now you have to work a little bit longer with the release campaigns to keep people's attracted to that kind of releases. I think listeners now are a little bit less. They want like they want it quick. They want it fast. They want to like the song before the first 5 seconds, which is kind of hard for us because we write kind of long songs. We have long intros, and people today tend to like skip the songs if it doesn't instantly keep their interest. So the landscape is different now from 21 years ago for sure. But I do think that we still write the same type of music that we as a band always has.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, on this kind of
Yeah.
topic, that is right because according to I read an article like 1 year or 2 years ago. I remember
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
the music need to be catchy in the first 15 seconds. That's impossible for
Yeah.
the metal scene. It's impossible. I think for the pop scene, the pop scene, yes, normal
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know all the song with what win in 5 seconds. But in the metal
Yeah.
scene, it's impossible to do this one. So
Yeah.
now, eh, what kind
Growing
of
up
things?
listening to like Metallica. What was
Uh-huh.
that?
No, please proceed.
Growing up like listening to Metallica, they could have like 8 minute songs, 9 minute songs. Everything is interesting in those 9 minutes, not the first 15 seconds. But yeah, But I do understand it's a little bit more difficult for the metal to keep it interesting right for the first 15 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all the time that captured my attention about these, well, especially for the genres, the label of the band. When I read a lot of reviews, a lot of the past reviews for the band, all the time the band is related with the post-hardcore stuff. I don't know why, because when I hear this
Yeah.
new album, for me, Blood Covenant, for me, you are playing like more metalcore, more alternative
Mm.
metal, more things related like that's very clear. But I don't know why the people continue
Mm.
related with a post-hardcore, because when I hear your previous albums, you have some songs that mix through that option. But now,
Yeah.
since more than 20 years passed since you created the band, you have 50 albums in your career, do you consider that Adept has this lean down to the post-hardcore scene, or is micro, or is like I said, more metalcore or with alternative elements?
I think that we have like always had a foot in both kind of categories. And I mean, we've been called emo core, emo, screamo, post-hardcore, metalcore. So, but I don't know. We've never been like one of those, really super heavy bands. We always kind of had a little bit of a poppiness to it, a little catchy, melodic things, especially in the early days, right up until like Another Year of Disaster, our first album. I would say that we were more post-hardcore back then, but then we took a change. We took a little bit like a different approach. We ended up sounding, a little bit more like the early 2010 kind of metalcore bands, like I mean, we were very interested in It Dies Today, early SLA Dying. It could be like Unearth. So Killswitch Engage was a huge influence as well. So I would say that we are more metalcore than we are anything else. But
Mhm.
I mean, it depends kind of which type of album you're listening to.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So on this topic, well, one thing that when you appear in the world, the metalcore scene was huge at that moment with the great bands as Aladian and Nerd, Tribune, etc., etc., and a lot of bands.
Yeah,
Now the
yeah,
curious thing happened, and for it's more like a superstition. You wait like 9 years, and now to release this Blood Covenant. And the curious thing is now that the alternative or the metalcore stuff are like it's like a revival with new band with a lot of festivals in Europe. I saw a lot Hellfest, a lot of like the main acts are metalcore bands now, and that's a
yeah,
curious thing. And now Sweden and Finland, countries like the where the old metal stuff are very so I don't know, like has a personal sound with this kind of thing. But now there's new bands with metalcore in Germany, in Sweden, in Finland, grow up with the metalcore. So now, what do you think about this new situation of the revival of the metalcore with a lot of productions? Because I'm just doing like 50 releases for metalcore scene now around the world in general.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And as you said, that is quite a evidence that metalcore is very big at the moment. I
Mhm.
think it's bigger now, honestly, than it has ever been. As you said, I see a lot of bands headlining really big festivals in Europe, and they're metalcore bands. And this, when we started, the biggest metalcore bands, they played maybe the third biggest stage, but they were never up on those kind of main stage
Mhm.
things. It took a while. I mean, you need to be like a super super big band to go to those places. And now there's a lot of I mean, you can have a festival with like only metalcore bands, and it will be sold out. So something has changed. Of course, the sound of metalcore has changed. It isn't as punk anymore. It isn't as hardcore. It isn't as raw and full of emotion. It is more super production. It sounds super tight. It is the best vocalist. It is the best screams. It is everything is like cake on cake. It's so
Mhm.
super production on it, and I kind of miss those, the little bit more like shitty sound, a little bit more, I don't know how to say it, but I miss that kind of rawness that was in like early SLA Dying kind of riffs. They were like super super heavy, but it wasn't the best production, but it was like you could feel the emotion behind it. And I feel like today there's a little bit too much of being nice and being like super clean production.
Okay. Well, in this kind of situation, you said one thing because that's completely normal now with the technology, with a lot of
Of
things
course.
now. There's a little cleaning sound in all metal subgenres, not just the metalcore. You can
Yeah.
see, and one thing that is so perfectly is the extreme metal. Now the death metal or black metals in the studio record with great musicians, great
Mm.
albums, etc. But the sound is so clean. It's not like the
Yeah.
80s or 90s or the beginnings of 2000s. But now there's a lot of clean sounds in all metal subgenres. So and for
Yeah.
this, so what do you opinion do you have for this now that the metal has this option? Well, all clean sounds, great musicians, technical stuff in all styles, and this does. But in some way, the metal lose this kind of I don't know the essence for the organic stuff. You
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
the first album for Killwish Engage is so raw, but at the same time it's
Yeah.
so catchy. That's a
I know.
different.
Yeah. I think that's it. As you said, the essence of it, like the essence of like musicianship, like how you express yourself was so I think was better captured before. I think when technology evolves and you have these amazing like tools to make the sound great, sound big, a lot of band tends to sound kind of the same because it's the same kind of music wall that they put out. And I miss those kind of like yeah, the rawness in it. So, and not saying that it's bad, it's just a personal, opinion that I have. No one has to, agree with me, but I kind of like miss that, the early Kill Switch Engage sound that was like super warm, super like yeah, and super raw. I love that sound.
Hmm? Okay, so and on this topic, what do your opinion has for the new revival of the metalcore scene with the new releases that all sounds perfectly as you said it, and because
Yeah.
if we compare the first wave or the first wave of the metalcore is like for some people think that is the true, yeah, like said, like the true metalcore albums, no? So do
Yeah.
you prefer the new albums for the metalcore, or do you prefer the old albums like the Killwish, Tribune, As a Light Dying?
Mm.
All that remains also returned this year. That's a good thing also.
Yeah, yeah. No, I would definitely prefer the older ones.
Mhm.
Because and also that's what I grew up with. So I have like a closer connection to that kind of sound, to those type of bands. So that's like super personal opinion. But yeah, I would definitely go for the early 2000 kind of metalcore sound.
Okay, okay. Now, well, returning to the Blood Covenant. So, and for
Sure.
this, so what kind of promotion do you have for this Blood Covenant? Perhaps you will release more videos. Perhaps you're already working a new album because 9 year passes completely time that you will record more songs to release more albums. Who knows? And for this, who knows? What kind of plans do you have for Adept and for this Blood Covenant?
So we're gonna release a new music video tomorrow for the song Blood Covenant. We are also releasing two more music videos in the next couple of weeks. The new album is coming out on Friday, so there's gonna be a lot of like there's gonna be a lot of happenings around the albums. It is kind of unusual to release music videos after the album has been released, but Blood Covenant comes tomorrow, the single, and the album comes on Friday, and then two more music videos will be added shortly after the release. So we're gonna use that almost like telling a story about the meaning of the album.
Hmm. Okay, okay. And perhaps you will bring for the first time a full Latin American tour or perhaps Asian tour. Who knows?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, 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 definitely. That's a bucket list thing. I would love to.
Great,
Yeah,
great, great. So, great. So now we're talking about other kind of things in, as you said, the music industry changed a lot of things in the metal in general, just not in
yeah.
metal. But now, as you can see, there's the huge bands are retirement for the well, for in the metal industry. Black Sabbath did, Slayer did, Megadeth did, etc., and the list continue on. So in this situation, do you think that in the future a new bands will rise with this kind of impact that the old band has had during the 80s, 90s?
Wow, yeah, that is like the toughest question. I mean, there's a lot of metal core kind of similar, at least, band today, like Sleep Token, Bring Me the Horizon, Bad Omens. So bands like these are already like playing, somewhat arenas. Falling in Reverse is also one of those bands that are selling out big places at the moment. So, but it's it's a different to play almost arenas than to like tour the world for 40 years, like Metallica, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, and sell out every show like Kiss did. I don't know if it's ever going to be like that impact. I hope so, because someone needs to, the music needs to go forward. We need to have music in our lives. I mean, it's the meaning of life, for me, music and sharing music with someone. Sitting in a room with friends and showing them a new song from a new band that you discovered. Music is, it's the best. So I really hope that there will be new bands coming up, but I am not sure if it's gonna be metalcore.
Okay, okay, okay. So on other kind of topics, there is a lot of things about the old people with the new people because we have like 30 or 40 releases or more per weekend. It's not like anymore like any decades, any past
Yeah,
decades in the metal. I
yeah,
remember when I was in the 80s when I was a child, but it like in 84, like we have like, for example 20 records, but in a whole year 20
yeah,
records. Now or the 90s it was the same 30 records, but in 6 7 years,
yeah,
and 2000s the same. The
yeah,
first the first albums for the metalcore, it was for example 4 or 5 years, in 2 years, 1 year. But now we have like the triple or quadruple for this
yeah,
option at 30 or 40 releases per weekend. Now, so what
yeah,
do
yeah,
you have? For some people it's bad, and for the old people mostly it's bad because no bands will be recognized during in the future with these
yeah,
overwhelming releases. And for the new people it's good because there's new bands rising with the new elements, etc., etc.
yeah, yeah, man. I mean, you don't want to be like you don't want to be like one of those dozen bands. You need to stand out. But I mean, if there's like 40 releases in a month or 40 releases in a week or something, you need to have something that makes you stand out from the rest. And today there's so many great like home studios, like for the tools so you can record at home and you can release like do it yourself kind of ways. So there's like it is easier to access great sound. It's easier to release music. There's platforms like YouTube, Spotify, or where you can put your music out there. But I think it's harder today to stand out than it was 20 25 years ago. So of course easier to put your music out there, harder to get recognized. I think that's the issue today.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Well, on this topic, that is right. That is right. Other topic that is for it's more controversial for the fans, because for the bands normally, because the bands are
Yeah.
using AI during the last 2 years are using AI like in the videos, in the cover arts. That's completely normal.
Mm.
But the fans are
Mm.
get angry
Yeah.
for this situation. That there is
Yeah.
no the why the band using AI, because why you're not using the actual artist
Mm.
for the cover art. But in some ways the AI is for me is a tool. It's not a like a person that this technology will think. Will you
Yeah.
do it with your music or with etc. And for
Mm.
this, what's your opinion about this? The AI is now with a whole topic of the music industry in whole ways, not just the art.
Yeah. No, I mean it is controversial, and I for one would love to not see AI in music. I mean, music is for people. It's not for robots. So I would say that for creating music from humans should be from humans. It should come from heart. There's always like you can take help from AI. If there's like a sentence you need help with in lyrics, something you need help with, or maybe illustrate something that could almost be a cover for an album, but then make a real person make that cover. You can always use it as like a help, but I don't want to see it that much involved in creating things that should be created, from passion, from a human heart. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to the future if the future involves a lot of AI in music. It should be like a rehearsing room. It should be like a couple of beers. It should be like friends sitting with guitar, jamming out the riff. It that is what it is. I mean, it's a room for creation.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Well,
maybe we're old. I don't know.
okay, Robert. So we are very close to this interview, Robert. And well, in this kind of situation, Robert. So now that as you can see, like the press or like the especially social media are trying to relate this concept of four bands that like did a lot of influence for the new bands, especially for the thrash, for the heavy, for death metal, etc., etc. You can see the biggest four from the Sweden is in the death metal is Unleashed, Entombed, Graved, and Dismembered, and obviously the thrash metal, the German scene, the US scene. But now, if we
Yeah.
related this topic of the four bands that like influence a lot of bands into the metalcore for you, which will be the four biggest bands into the metalcore?
I would say the biggest one for me is it's band Unearth from US. I think they're from Massachusetts or something like that, maybe New England.
Mhm.
One of those bands that give an introduction to like really heavy breakdowns. So yeah, I love that band. I would say As Lay Dying. I would say Killswitch Engage. And then, I mean, from a newer perspective, I would say bands like Bring Me the Horizon. So yeah, I would add them as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, well, one of the last questions from this interview, Robert. And so, if you try, obviously, the albums of Adept has this situation that has one word or two words in the cover, in the name of the album, but it will relate sensations, it will relate feelings about each album that you create since you start the band. For example, since your first album, Another Year of Disaster. So, which feeling or sensation will you related? For example, Another Year of Disaster is the more younger. Is the dead
Yeah.
dealer is
Yeah.
more massive, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, in the Another Disaster, that is the juvenile side of us. That was us being a party band. That was us, trying to
Mhm.
figure out who we were, writing very like juvenile lyrics. But it was probably the most fun album that we ever done because we had the entire world in front of us, and yeah, nothing could stop us. Death Dealers was a little bit more like we wanted to try out a little bit of a heavier sound. We
Mhm.
wanted to approach the metal side of music a little bit more. Silence the World is for us. It's like the last approach of reaching that kind of metalcore vibe. So I would say like that's a blend between Sleepless and Death Dealers. While Sleepless is a little bit more of a grown-up album, very more like atmospheric,
Mhm.
more dramatical. And I would say that Blood Covenant is our comeback album. It is filled more with the passion and more about hope for our future than any album.
Hmm. Okay. And other, well, interrelated with and one to the last one. So since your second album, you are using like the circles, because that dealer
Yeah,
in the back of the mutants has this kind of a sun, or a moon there. Then your third album, Silence the World, has a circle there, like the earth
yeah,
inside. Then Sleepless has a circle, and then Blood Covenant also has a circle. So in this situation, when you related these kind of topics for a band, for an artist, could be just for a band, but when you try to follow all the details for the bands of cover arts, mostly there's a reason. So
yeah.
because it's not just for it's something and purpose when you see four circles in all albums for the band, and perhaps these circles mean something for you or for the band, especially because in for cover arts there is a special meaning for you, the circle or the geometric stuff, because also your third album has a triangle there.
Yeah, I mean it can be interpreted. I mean, however you want to. for a reason for Blood Covenant, it's like we didn't want the circle to be full. We wanted to be a little bit, you can't see the entire circle. So it means like we're not done with this yet. There's something more for us to give. Like the person in the middle is fading, but not faded away completely. But yeah, for all the circles, we can also go back to, we're from a very small town in Sweden called Trosa, and the symbol for that city is a moon. So there's also like connection to like our hometown is an homage to that. And also, if you want to put like a production when you're playing shows, you can have a circle, and that circle can change in different, lightning forms depending on which song from which album. So if it's gonna be red, it's from Blood Covenant. If it's gonna be like a yellow, maybe it's from the moon from Death Dealers or whatever. So you can play around a little bit with it. So, and also it's for like a recognition kind of feeling.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Well, Robert, we are right to the sad moment of this interview. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, the
Thank
thing
you.
about the moon, it was really, really interesting topic. I didn't know about that. So,
Yeah.
and congratulations on Disney Blood Covenant. For me, continue maintains the old sounds from the 2000s, from the golden era for the metalcore stuff. And perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans that expect someday a full Latin American tour, who knows? And obviously, Metalero followers.
Please continue to share on us. Please continue to supporting our music. I mean, we would love to go there and play for the first time in our lives. It's a bucket list, something that we have dreamed about the entire, our entire career. So yeah, really hope to come, if not next year, the year after. We really need to go there.